everybody, it's Amber. Welcome to my channel, and obviously you are all new here, so I hope that you enjoy the content that I hope to bring to you over the next long period of time. It's Halloween, yay, my favorite time of the year, which has been like that for my entire childhood. I have always loved things spooky, paranormal, creepy, just totally unexplainable. And I thought that to kind of kickstart my new channel, as well as my first video on here to talk to everybody, I would share my first paranormal experience with something that was definitely not good. And by that, I just mean, like, I was always very aware of light and dark spirits. So things like, seeing my aunt, seeing family members, seeing passed away pets, and that kind of thing was totally a regular occurrence for me. I don't mean to sound super crazy.
I see dead people.
But that was definitely something that was very normal for me in the long run. When I started experiencing the darker side of the paranormal and my gift, I guess, if you want to call it that, I had actually spent a very long amount of time not paying attention to any of that stuff. I had actually shut it off quite a few years earlier than when this incident happened, just because I was battling a lot of my own personal demons. I had been diagnosed with depression at a very, very young age, and struggled a lot with that through my early preteens and into my teens. So when this all happened, I was in grade 10, and I was actually living in our capital city, not in my hometown, because I was attending our music, arts, and drama program, which is like a little mini high school program where you still get your social studies, English, PE, and all of those credits, but you do it through the act of art. So we used to put on plays every year. You do full-blown musical production. And this was my first year that I was in this program, that I had this experience happen. So I had moved in with a family friend, and I affectionately call her my aunt. So I had moved in with my aunt. We lived in one of the older parts of our city, and she had this beautiful house, gorgeous space, and the first year that I went up there, I actually lived in the basement of her place. So the way you walked in was you walked into the front door, and it was either a little set of stairs to go downstairs into the basement and out to the garage, or up a set of stairs that went into the living room, the bathroom, the kitchen, another 2 bedrooms. So my room was at the bottom of this down set of stairs and right at the end of the bottom of the stairs. I hated basements. I think everybody hates basements in this world. If you don't, there's something wrong with you. But I hated basements. But this is where I stayed. My mom came up with me for that year. And I had one window in my room, and it was actually like level with the ground outside, so you could see like people if they walked by to go to the front door, but you couldn't really see like heads, you just saw legs. So it was a little concerning when you weren't expecting anybody to show up, and then you just saw like the shadow of somebody walking by, and then somebody would knock on the door and scare the bejesus out of me. I had experienced a couple of like really weird things. There was a couple of times where I just felt generally uneasy in my room. I sleep with my door shut, so it was almost claustrophobic to a point the first year that I stayed there. And then the next year happened, and my mom didn't come up with me. I came up by myself. I got the big room upstairs, which, although felt better, it still wasn't great. There was just still a very unsettling feeling throughout the entire house. I didn't like how it felt. I didn't like being there at night. In fact, there was quite a lot of time where I actually spent most of my nights playing video games with a whole bunch of my friends in the States because I didn't want to sleep. And so they would like play games with me until 3 in the morning, and then they would text with me for a little while, and then I'd finally fall asleep and have to get up to go to school at 7. And I was running on like very low energy for quite a while. Just above where we live, there's a little hill, and on the other side of the hill is like a very high collision intersection. And at one point there had been a car accident there, and a young girl had died. And that was kind of the first thing that really kicked off my experiences again. Was I was in my room one night, and I could feel this presence in the room, and it caught me off guard because I hadn't felt anything for such a long period of time at that point, that feeling something was really unsettling. And I realized that it was nothing bad, so I paid attention to it a little bit, realized that it was this girl, and she kept coming to visit me probably once or twice a night for like a good 2 weeks. It was really frequent, really crazy. And I finally asked her, like, what do you want? What do you want from me? Like, what can I do to make this better? Why are you choosing me? Finally, it kind of came across, and I figured out that she needed help to move on. So I helped her find the piece that she needed. She crossed over. I'm not 100% sure who does it, but there is somebody who actually changes out the flowers every spring and replenishes the flowers all summer and winter at the site of the crash, which I think is the sweetest thing in the world. And whoever you are, you're amazing. It's a wonderful way to honor somebody like that. And I don't know if you know it, but I just want to let you know that she has found peace now, and she has moved on. But then, after she left, I started feeling something a little more dark. And I had always been very aware of dark things. I was no stranger to hearing about it. I grew up watching all of those shows. I watched Paranormal State. I watched, Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters International, all of those things. I really love creepy stuff. I love creepy movies. It was like a pastime for my dad and I. We would stay up until 3 in the morning watching these shows because they started at like 11, and like Ghost Hunters was an hour, and then like they would play Ghost Adventures, and then they would play Paranormal State, which was 2 half-hour segments. So it was like, by the time it finished, the last one was Most Haunted. So at the very end of it, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and you would listen to Yvette saying, "Until next time, sleep tight," and you never wanted to go to bed. Like, just by the time you watched the 4 hours of like all of these shows all at once, it was really terrifying. So I was no stranger to knowing about like, shadow people, demons, all of these things that are not good, that you really shouldn't mix with, dabble with, what have you. So when I started feeling this presence, I got really on edge. I was so worried that it was something bad that I had invited in myself, because I had been in such a dark place mentally up until that point. At this point, I had started getting better, and I had started making the right advances into getting myself better, and I was like, this can't be happening. This can't happen to me. Like, I try so hard not to have anything dark come in. I try so hard to be positive about everything. Not that it worked back then, but here we are. I started feeling the presence of a man hanging around quite often. And it was only at night, and it was only in one very specific area of my room. So the way that my room was set up was the door came in from the living room, and my bed faced the door in the center of the room, and I had a window behind me and a window on the left-hand side of my bed, and there was a closet at the foot of the bed right next to the door that went into the living room. And then this side, on the right side of my bed, was my TV and my dresser and all of that stuff. So he would always stand either right in front of my door, or he would stand in the corner between the window and the closet, which that in itself was really, really creepy. And over time, it was just the energy. I could just feel the fact that somebody else was there. Fast forward through my grade 11 year, I'm now back again in the same house, the same room. It's grade 12, and I felt the presence the day I got there. I went to bed that first night, and I knew he was there. He had not followed me home that summer to my hometown, so obviously whatever it was very attached to this area, and had no interest in actually following me, but obviously realized that I could sense the fact that he was there. So whatever he is, was, whatever, he knew that I knew he was there. So the first night, it was like a welcoming committee, basically. He stood at the end of my bed, and this time it really startled me because he manifested himself. And I don't know if anybody else has ever seen a full body apparition, whether it's fully made out into like being able to see a human, or if it's just a shadow or whatever. When you can't see through the thing that is standing at the end of your bed and you know there's nothing there, it becomes a really terrifying experience. So this first night, he manifested himself at the end of my bed, and I could tell it was the same energy as the year before, but he stood there, and as he came more and more into view, I guess, he was all black, dressed in all black, completely from head to toe, and as dumb as this sounds, he was in a black suit jacket with like the coattails. He was in a black shirt, black tie, black dress pants, black boots, had a cane, and he had a top hat. And I remember this top hat because him on his own, before the hat appeared, was almost to the top of my door frame. Keeping in mind that these door frames are like your typical house frame, like doors. So it was like 6 feet just to the top of his head. The top hat then extended and hit the roof. And I think we had 7 or 8 foot ceilings. One of the two. Somewhere in there. But either way, like the top hat itself hit the roof. Once it finally manifested. Oh, I know, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. So what happened then was I basically had a staring match with this figure, and I couldn't see his face, which really bothered me. So then I started being like, oh my god, like, this is a shadow person, like, what did I do? Who's, like, hating me right now? Did somebody send somebody after me? And I just started really panicking. And I think he knew that, because even though I couldn't see his face and it was nothing but a black shadow, I could tell he was smiling. And I could tell that he was feeding off of the fact that I was terrified of him. So I kind of realized that I needed to, like, wrap up my brain and be like, no, you can't be afraid of him. You can't deal with this. Like, just try and ignore the fact that he's there. Go to sleep. You have to go to school the next day, like, and just get through the night. So sure enough, I finally managed to get myself to sleep. And for the next about a week and a half, he kept manifesting at the end of my bed. And he would, instead of like slowly coming in piece by piece, he would actually show up and be there right away. As soon as I shut my bedroom door, turned off my lights, and just had my lamp on, I'd crawl into bed, he would be there. And it was almost like he never went away. Like, it was almost as if he was there all the time, but only was visible once the lights were off. I'm not saying it was pitch black in my room either. Like, if I turned off the lights and had my lamp on, you could still see everything. My lamp was bright enough that, like, every space in my room would still be bright without being, like, in your face, the lights are on. So I knew that I wasn't just, like, imagining the fact that there was something here in the blackness and, you know, my head's just playing games. It finally got to a point where being in my grade 12 year, I was doing my first semester at our actual high school, and then I was doing my second semester at this music program. And I realized that if I didn't deal with this right away, I was never going to sleep, because he was keeping me up so late all the time. I finally confronted him after about a month of not being able to sleep well. And I kind of said to him, like, yo, dude, you need to, like, what, honey? It's okay. You're okay. Nothing's gonna hurt you. I kind of said, like, yo, dude, you can't be here. I don't want you here. I don't know why you're here, but you need to leave me alone. And there was just something in me that was like, that's not enough. Like, that's not going to be enough. He doesn't care. He's going to be here whether I like it or not. And so I finally kind of compromised in a way, I guess. And I told him that if we were going to coexist peacefully, he had to let me sleep. He could be there. He could watch me. He could be in the room. I didn't care, but he had to let me sleep. That seemed to work enough that I was still very conscious of the fact that he was there every single night. Very sinister, very unsettling, but he left me alone. And I was able to actually get a full 8 hours of sleep. I was able to do the work that I needed to do and get on with my grade 12 year and actually get through it, which made me feel really good. After I moved out of that house and I graduated, I moved away, went to school, came back, and proceeded to live in the same city again, but never saw him. So fast forward 3 years, and I'm back in this city. I'm looking for a place to live. I want to get a dog. I was struggling again with some, like, really hardcore bouts of depression, and I knew that for me, I needed something to be in my life to get me out and doing things, because I knew otherwise I would literally live in my house and never come out of it. And I knew that wasn't a good thing for me, because when I was finally actually getting through all of my really hardcore depressive stages way back, I was doing stuff and I was able to actually get out, do things, more active things outside, and enjoy nature. So I was looking for a place that would allow me to get a puppy or an older dog. I was looking to adopt, and I finally went to probably about 6 or 7 places, and every single one of them was like the size of a closet, basically. You know, bachelor pads, they were in people's basements, which was really creepy, or they just weren't cozy. And I mean, I think it's something to be said when you walk into a place, you know whether or not you're gonna like it. And I finally saw a Kijiji ad for a place, and it was in the same subdivision that I had lived previously in high school. And so I was like, okay, well, I know the area, which is great for me. I'll know how to get around, where I'm going, and that kind of thing. And I showed up, and it was the house that literally backs on to the backyard of my aunt's house. And I was like, oh, I remember, like, when these people moved in, and I remember, like, their dog and their cat, and, like, all of these things. So I was really excited because I knew these people already to a degree from living behind them. I decided to take the house. We moved in. I got a puppy. I got a cat. And everything was fine and dandy. I'm now currently still here filming in this place. I've had my fair share of experiences here, which is for multiple videos way later on in all of this. It kind of ties into why I decided my first video should be about this man, because I saw him last week. And I think in a way it was a lot of the kickstart for me to revisit the idea of a YouTube channel, get it up, put it online, and talk to you all about all of this. So a week ago, probably almost to the day, I was outside. We have a big backyard and the dogs are out there all the time. So I have 2 dogs now, and currently 3 cats in the house, one of which you've obviously seen get up more than once during this video and scream at me. So the little cat that was up here is Apollo. Somewhere around here is the other 2, which are Artemis and Danko. I'm sure they will make appearances in videos in the future. And the dogs are also outside because I would not be able to be filming right now if they weren't. So I was outside. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. I had just gotten off of work and I bartend. So I had worked from 5 o'clock until 1:30. Got home, made my dinner, was hanging out with my roommate and just kind of watching creepy videos on YouTube. And we always have this like ritual of sorts. So when we sit and watch creepy videos, we allot ourselves like a certain amount of time to watch creepy videos, and then we go find really stupid funny videos to watch for like an hour so that it kind of lifts the mood and just kind of resets your brain. And it works, honestly. So at this point, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. We were getting ready for bed. I hadn't really felt anything weird. I wasn't really creeped out by anything. We had watched like some really hilarious videos. We're getting ready. So I fed 2 of the cats and Megan was feeding Danko. We have to feed them separately, otherwise it's a nightmare. And while she was doing that, I grabbed the leashes, went outside to get the dogs. So I'm walking down, and the way that our backyard is it's actually like you walk out and then there's a gate and you have to walk down a set of stairs into the backyard, which is all fenced in. So I walked out to the gate and I walked down into the backyard and I walked over, and our pit bull has to be on a tie when he's in the backyard because otherwise he runs up the stairs and jumps the 3-foot gate at the top and goes on adventures. And so I was down going to get him off of his tie, and I looked up and our yard, so our house is like here and then the yard is back here, and along this side of our yard we have the house that I used to live in and then another house. And the little lady who lives in this house is so sweet, so adorable. She has given me fresh veggies out of her garden every summer because she didn't need as many of the ones that she was getting out of her garden. She has always taken very keen interest in the dogs, so if any of them get out, she's always like the first one to come over and tell me, and she'll try and catch them if she can. And she's just this really, really sweet, fragile old lady. And they have a deck coming off of their second story that has a set of stairs down into their backyard. So the fence line that separates our 2 yards, as we're sitting there, I'm untying the dog and I look up, and she always has her porch light on in the backyard because they let their little dog out quite frequently around 3 a.m. to go to the bathroom. And so she had her porch light on, and I was like, okay, well, that's all fine and well. And I reached down and I unclipped the dog And I let Rollo go so he could do his business and kind of run a few laps around the yard. And I looked back up at the deck, and on the deck was the Top Hat Man. Again, for the first time since I moved in here. So it's been 4 years since I've lived in this house, and I have not seen him at all. Flashback to last week. Here he is, standing on my neighbor's deck, staring at me. And all of a sudden, I just get drenched in fear. And I couldn't help. My throat constricted. My heart started beating really fast. I started panicking. I was terrified. I had no idea. This was the first time I'd seen him outside. This was the first time I'd seen him in years. And all of those initial fears of him literally flooded back to me. And there he was, top hat and all, standing there. And the only thing that I could see that was different was he was taking his hands back and forth from his face. And I could see the smoke coming out of the cigarette that he was smoking. There was nobody there. I looked. I checked. I ran up the stairs with the dog, ran back to the house, turned around and looked back at the porch, and there was nobody there. I sat there and I had to kind of wonder what was going on. I ran into the house, shut the door, let the dog off of his leash so he could go run around. My little one is like oblivious to everything, and she runs down the hallway, and I walk into the living room, and I looked at Megan and I said, I never thought I'd see that face again. And she looked at me and goes, what the heck are you talking about? And I went, I just saw the Top Hat Man again. She had heard this story from me previously. I had expressed that I had seen him before. Paranormal stuff is not something that we really keep from each other. We're both very involved with it. And I was very genuinely shocked. Like, she even looked at me and was like, do you know why? Is everything okay? Like, what's going on? Is he still there? Like, what's happening? I don't know why. I don't know who. I don't know what. I don't know why after 4 years, almost more than that now. Like, it's been 6 years since I last saw him up until this point. I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't know anything. I don't know why he wants to see me again. I don't know why he wants to have anything to do with me again. I don't know why he's now migrated outside. I am just thankful that all of the barriers that we have put up around our house to ward off things like this have actually worked, because it didn't seem like he could follow me into my house or into our yard, which made me feel a little bit safer, but still not great, because I don't know what he wants. So with that being said, if you guys have any ideas of who this mysterious man might be and what he might want from me, or why he might be trying to come to me in the first place, please leave a comment down below. It would really mean a lot to me if you hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications so you get a notification every time I upload a video, because I am hoping to be doing them for you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of the week. So, I will see you guys later. Bye.